So there's quite a few different problems that we can uncover with a system audit that might go unnoticed day to day by plant. I'll just mention a few. A really common one is finding problems with the differential pressure. So a lot of times those systems are neglected, or they're not aware, the plants are not aware how much preventative maintenance needs to be done on the differential pressure system to make sure that the readings are accurate and reliable. What's the consequence of that? When we don't have the accurate readings, for one thing, that's a lot of times required as part of our air permit to submit that reading. So if it's inaccurate, we can get in trouble there. Also, if it's not showing correctly, it can lead the plant, for example, to think that the baghouse is operating in one way. For example, seeing it low differential pressure and thinking, oh, the filters are lasting many years, when in reality the pressure is very high and they're not lasting very long. They need to be replaced. It could also be affecting how much airflow is going through the system, causing dusting at the pickup points. It can also indicate other problems operationally that's affecting the system when it's running. So differential pressure problems is a very big one that we find. Another big problem that we find often is mismatches of the size of the filters and the cages and the baghouses. And also I'll add in there maybe using the wrong filter media. With regards to sizing, for example, on a top load style pulse jet baghouse, a lot of times plants don't write down all of the specs they need on the filter, so they get stuck with just a part number from somewhere, and maybe that leads them to always order from the same company that's overcharging them or giving them substandard parts. Or if they have a lot of different units at the plant, a lot of times maintenance personnel get confused about which filters go in which unit, and so they end up with missized filters. A common thing, for example, the tube sheet size is different on a lot of baghouses, but it needs to be very exact for the snap bands to fit in. So you end up with one that's too loose, for example, and lets dust go by. Or another one that's common is when measuring the bags, because they don't do it very accurately, it's just kind of a rough eyeball kind of thing. You end up with the bag, maybe originally was let's say it was 5.5 inch bag diameter. Because they try to hold it and measure it instead of doing a flat width measurement, a little bit bigger each time they measure it and order new bags, and eventually the bag gets very big. We've come before where we find a bag, instead of being 5.5 inches, it ended up being 6 inches over top of a smaller cage. So the bag was super loose on the cage. So they were able to install it, but because the sizing's not right, the bag wasn't pulsing correctly and causing them all kinds of problems. So that's a really common one. And one other thing that it could be that we find often is problems with the equipment with regards to how it's operated, what the concept is. So for example, many plants we go to, we find the operators, maintenance personnel, management, they have an idea that the dust collector is supposed to hold a certain amount of dust. So they regularly let the hopper of the dust collector fill up with material. Now, this is completely opposite of Baghouse 101. No baghouse at any time is designed to have dust sitting in the hopper. The hopper of the dust collector is supposed to funnel the material to the discharge device, usually a rotary airlock, and then in short order, 10-20 seconds, it should empty out everything, and then the next filter pulse comes, knocks more material down, and empties that out. That is so crucial for the baghouse to operate correctly. It's especially important when you have any kind of combustible dust, because dust sitting in the hopper of the baghouse while it's running is one of the worst things you could have, one of the biggest safety hazards. So a lot of times when we come, and only when we talk to the people during the visit, especially if we combine it with a training course and we talk to them in the course about things, we find out their understanding of how it's supposed to work is not accurate, and we need to help correct that. So a lot of times the inspection leads to us finding things like that, concepts or mistaken institutional knowledge that's been passed on that the plant personnel might have, that's really leading to the problems that they face. It's not so much the equipment is damaged or is not the right equipment, it's how they're operating it is not correct.